Good evening, everybody. My name is Clyde Bullard, and I'm the curator of the Black History Trilogy. I want to welcome you all here. Thank you for tuning in. This is the first live show that we've had at Flushing Town Hall in about a year, and it's going to be an incredible experience. Now, the series began with John Lewis, a pioneer for justice, that was read by Alton Fitzgerald White, a phenomenal actor. Tonight, we have Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory, with a man that has won 3 Tony Awards, 1 Grammy, Emmy, and a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I'm talking about André De Shields. And tomorrow, in our last installment, we have Tony Award-winning actress Lillias White in Divine Sass, a show that she has written destined to go to Broadway about Sarah Vaughan and her fight and music to survive in a male-dominated music business. But tonight, we're going to hear the thunderous words revived once again by André De Shields of Frederick Douglass, who was one of America's greatest and most virulent champions against the ugly institution of slavery. And before I go, I must say, later in his life, Frederick Douglass became a consultant to the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. There may be some strong language, but it is in historical context. And so now, I proudly present to you, on behalf of Flushing Town Hall, André De Shields.
In the glory of the coming of the Lord, He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of His terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Do you know what it means to be black? Blacklist, black male, black market, black ball, black sheep, black hole, black devil, black nigger? Do you know what it means to be invisible? It means to exist as a depiction of humanity denied. Permit me to propose a monochromatic conundrum. In the realm of physics, black is not considered a color. As a matter of fact, black is defined as the absence of all color, whereas white is defined as the presence of all color. Now, there's an example of identity politics for you. You see, if you were to take white light and refract it through a prism, the result would be a spectrum of colors that we are encouraged to memorize in our schools as Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But perform the very same experiment with black light, and the result is nothing. So you see, in the logic of physics, I am nothing. Certainly, I'm not what I appear before you tonight. I am a black man citizen in these United States of America. But now, I appear before you as a black boy slave in these United Plantations of America. Tonight, I wear the mask of Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. I was born, well, I actually don't know when I was born. I once heard my master tell his missus, "Keep a slave ignorant, and you keep him happy." I have been haunted my entire life because I do not know when I was born. Appreciating one's self in a society that was built on a racial caste system is to be perfectly black, one hard row to hoe. Much of what I say this evening will seem extravagant, but I persist in saying it so that some of what I say will be heard. I prefer to be true to myself and risk incurring the ridicule of others than to be false and incur my own abhorrence. There is a particularly insidious damage done to the spirit of a man who has been enslaved. You may remove the shackles from his wrist, but he will obstinately struggle against the weight of his phantom bondage. You might even take away the fetters, ankles and his feet. Yet he will still shuffle haltingly, as if still caught in some imaginary restraint. But let that same man lose the chains from his mind, and at once he is set upon an unswerving path toward perfect freedom. Those of you who are fortunate enough to live in the generations beyond slavery, take a look at your young black brethren as they go to and fro. Yeah, still pulling that ball and chain, still waiting for the revolution to take place somewhere outside of themselves, when a true revolutionary understands that authentic change is an interior process. The African in North America the so-called Negro has for nearly 300 years suffered unspeakable crimes against his body, against his spirit, against his mind. Nevertheless, the Negro, in order to continue to survive, no, in order to continue to thrive, yet again, no, in order to prevail, must learn these four indispensable lessons. He must learn how to read, truly read. He must learn how to write, truly write. He must learn how to be free. He must learn how to fight. And he must be quiet about having acquired these skills. Even then, his chances of experiencing the light of freedom are dim, because the slave master believes, and rightly so, that a literate Negro is a dangerous Negro, and thereby must be punished unto death. Rise up, my children. Rise up from your knees. Cleanse from your mind the nightmare of the slave master's human bondage and replace it with the dream of the abolitionists' liberation. For 26 years, I prayed on my knees and received no answer until I prayed with my legs. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Those who profess to prefer freedom, yet do not agitate, are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. It is not the gentle shower that we need, but the thunder, the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. Then, once and for all, perhaps mankind will understand that where freedom is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where one people feel as if society is an organized conspiracy to depress, to rob, and to deny them their rights, neither person nor property will be safe. Freedom is not a right, nor is it a privilege. It is a responsibility. There is no liberation without literacy. Freedom without literacy is still bondage. This is the Holy Scriptures. It's how I learn my letters. I have read it from cover to cover many times, and I come away from it with this irrevocable belief that the Almighty help those who help themselves. This this is the Columbian Orator, containing a variety of original and selected pieces together with rules calculated to improve youth and others in the ornamental and useful art of eloquence. It is how I learn to write. That Republican President Abraham Lincoln and his Emancipation Proclamation is how I learned to be free. Every slave has a great white father, either in the woodpile or the big house or history's file or the White House. And this is how I learned to fight. I was something of unmanageable as a young slave, particularly during my teenage years. And in order to control me more, my master sent me to live with a Mr. Edward Covey. Now, Mr. Covey had a high reputation for being a nigger breaker, and his reputation was of great value to him. So great in value was it to him that on our first meeting, he whipped me, cutting my back, causing blood to run, and raising ridges on my skin as thick as my fingers. I lived with Mr. Covey for 1 year, and not a week went by that he didn't whip me. Eventually, on one of the hottest days of August, 1834, Mr. Covey came after me without provocation, raising that big, long, black snake of a whip high in the air. It was a moment frozen in my life. And then I saw it, moving monstrously slowly, the whip arcing through the air, reaching from one side of my neck to the other, squeezing the life out of me like a boa constrictor. And I thought, I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. Oh, Mama, I think I'm dying, and I cannot breathe. And then, from where it came, I know not. But I knew from the treacherous countenance on the face of Mr. Covey that he was going to kill me. And I decided at that moment I would have my freedom or die. Covey came at me with bloodlust on his face. He grabbed his whip to strike me again. Then all of a sudden, with both hands, I grabbed Covey by the collar and I brought him crashing to the ground. Oh, he was so surprised that he began to shake like a leaf. We were at it for 2 hours. But I believe I had the best of Mr. Covey because I had drawn blood from him, and he had not drawn another drop from me. I felt like I had never felt before. I felt that for the first time in my life, God was on my side. I thought, perhaps there is hope for men like me. I thought someday I might experience love truth, and justice. I looked for the first time in my life toward the future. And I saw a bright day of deliverance. I told Jesus it would be all right if it changed my name. I told Jesus it would be all right if it changed my name. I told Jesus I told Jesus. I told Jesus it would be all right if it changed my name. Those many years ago when I escaped from slavery from Maryland and arrived in New Bedford, Massachusetts, I was embraced by a family of people who were responsible for helping all of those slaves who then became fugitives. And we realized that the dogs would be after me, would be after Frederick, Augustus, Washington, Bailey, the four-legged dogs and the two-legged dogs. The family suggested that I alter my surname, Bailey. I was named after my mother, Harriet. These friends, these northern Negroes, had a library. And among the books was a beautiful poem by Sir Walter Scott, Lady of the Lake. And the heroine's last name was Douglass, which I found so beautiful, so civilized. So I adopted that as my surname, Frederick Douglass. I was not going to change my forename. How else would my mother find me if ever she would? I last saw my mother when I was the littlest of little boys. I didn't know at the time that it would be the last time that I laid eyes on her. Again, I did not know my exact age, but I was young. And I was sitting on her lap, and she reached inside her apron and she pulled out this little cake she had baked for me. And it was in the shape of a heart. And she had drizzled chocolate around the edge to make it stand out, to make it memorable. And then I was gone. She was gone to a new master. Recently, I got news that my very first master was on his deathbed. So I reached out to his son. We had grown up together. And he was aware of the stature that I had ultimately achieved. No longer a slave, no longer just a Negro, but an orator, an abolitionist. And the reason I reached out to him is because before his father died, I wanted him to ask for me. Do you remember when I was born? And the response came back. It was either 1817 or 1818. I really can't recall. I chose 1818. After I had the year, I needed the date, the day. And that's what caused me to recall the little cake my mother had baked for me. Was it St. Valentine's Day? I don't know. But it was a heart. So now we know Frederick Douglass was born on February 14th, 1818. The rest of the story you know, or if you don't, you can Google it. Research says that I died on February 20th, 1895. By then, I was married to my second wife, a white woman. Scandal. And I was living in Cedar Hill, east of the Anacostia River in Washington, D.C. And I dropped to the floor of my home, having suffered a massive coronary. The year following my death, a great colleague of mine, you might know of him, Paul Laurence Dunbar, he published a poem which I think you might appreciate. He only lived 33 years, having died from our version of a pandemic, not COVID-19, but tuberculosis. And the reason I think you'll appreciate this poem is because it is titled, "We Wear the Mask." We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh, great Christ! Our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet, and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We, you and I, we wear the mask. Tonight I wear the mask of Frederick, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Fannie Lou Hamer, Walter Scott, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Tanisha Anderson, Ahmaud Arbery, Laquan McDonald, Tatiana Jefferson, Katherine Johnson, Alberta Spruill, Chakesia Clemens, Ashams Farrow Manley, Alton Sterling, Rayshard Brooks, Jamar Clark, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, say her name, George Floyd, Douglass. I tell you, it is not me you are looking at, not me you are grinning at, not me your confidential looks incriminate, but that other person. If person you thought I was, let your necrophilia feed upon that carcass. Let us rejoice that we live in such righteously complicated times. The paradigm is changing. There is an old, decaying world yearning to die. Let us allow it to do exactly that. On the other hand, there is a new world bristling with energy that is eager to be born. Let us be good midwives and ensure its first breath. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And his message is, Black lives matter.
I hope you all have enjoyed that as much as we did, and that the poignant words we've just heard will resound in all of us and make us question who we are and who we want to be in the world we live in now. Thank you all for coming out, for viewing in, and we hope to see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock for Divine Sass. And we also thank the Broadway deity, André De Shields. Good evening.